Good evening and welcome to the Reston Community Center Board of Governors meeting, a monthly meeting for July. First order of business is approval of the agenda.
So move.
All right, don't go to sleep, fellas.
Oh, no.
I gave her a few corrections on mine. All those in favor of approval of the agenda, is it okay?
Aye.
Those opposed? Next order of business is approval of the June 5th board minutes.
So move. Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and I gave my corrections for my little part there. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Next order of business is the approval of the June 5th board actions.
So move. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next order of business is the chair's remarks. Life. I have. We had a fascinating month last month with all the losses. Now my next door neighbor has lost both of his parents. He's now an orphan, and he is so sad. And so we try to keep him engaged. I send him texts. He probably thinks I'm nuts, but I send him texts with lots of little things in it, and I have Esme sing to him. She likes to get one of her little avatars there and sing to him. So, this is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. He is rich who owns the day, and no one owns the day who allows it to be invaded with fret and anxiety. Finish every day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities, no doubt, crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Begin it well and serenely, with too high a spirit to be cumbered with your old nonsense. This new day is too dear, with its hopes and invitations, to waste a moment on yesterday. Next order of business is introduction of visitors. Maybe the next board will have lots of visitors. There are no visitors tonight, so there will be no citizen input. Next order of business is the annual public hearing and committee reports. First one out of the barrel is Mr. Bowie for the long-range planning.
The Long Range Planning Committee was held on June 5th, 2023. Lisa actually called the meeting to order at 7:01 because I had a brain cramp and thought it was at 7:30 and got here at 7:10. But I mean, we talked about, BB talked about the CAPRA annual report submission had been made. Dick went over the handouts for the annual hearing. Shane talked about the economic and program contingency reserve and how it's determined. Paul made sure that he took copious notes and was able to explain each and every detail about that. Lila talked about our increase in capital reserve funds and how that happened. And we are also looking forward to the submission, or actually ended up to be the approval of the Fine Arts Center on Block J by the Board of Supervisors. And that was pretty much it.
Thank you. Next is the June 26th annual public hearing. And it says that I'm going to tell you about that, really. We had one.
did, a lot.
You wanted succinct and terse?
That's right.
Here it is. Yes.
No, it was a good one.
It was a good one.
It was a good one, and we had,
And Paul and Lila did an excellent job explaining things. And it was a good meeting.
yes. And then we had the only citizen input that night was from Mr. Gowdy.
Very complimentary.
Who loves us, and it was a very nice meeting.
Robert Gowdy also spoke in a very complimentary way to our sponsorship of his projects in the town center,
Mhm.
which is good.
Yeah.
What he said.
Yes.
Okay. The next is the preference poll committee, which will be
Bill.
Mr. Bill Hurley.
So the preference poll is about to open up. We went over extensively the candidate handbook for 2023. Applications are open until August 15th of this year. The handbook was approved by the committee, and then we adjourned.
Applications begin August 1.
August 1.
August 1, yeah.
Okay.
Excited.
Approval of
Can we
the-
have approval of those reports?
So move.
All those in favor?
Okay, who seconded, I'm sorry.
Next order of business is the board member input activities. We're going to start with Jane.
All right, I attended the public hearing, which was great, especially to hear Robert Gowdy's comments. He has a way to put words together, and he did a really good job that night. I attended the Take a Break concert series last week at Reston Station for an 80s cover band called The Reflex. Definitely check them out. And then that's all RCC. I do want to say something that's pretty cool. A friend of mine has his ribbon cutting this week in Reston for his first side business, and it's the Giving Tree Pet Resort.
Oh.
I saw that. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
And I just signed my dog up there.
Oh, you're gonna love it. He immigrated here from Korea, and I work with him in my day job, and he said, "Where should I open this thing?" I'm like, "You gotta do it in Reston." And they found a space, very large space that used to be headquartered by Future Business Leaders of America, about 13,000 square feet, and it's just a good addition to the community. So ribbon
That
cutting
is
is
cool.
Thursday.
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is a very dog friendly.
Oh my God.
It's pretty cool.
Annual long-range planning meeting, public hearing, and lots of other meetings and discussions.
And it's a public hearing and lots of basketball. The Summer Youth League has a little WNBA
Okay.
league, and my daughter's learning how to lose.
That's important.
Good lesson in life.
Get it out of her system.
Bill's character.
Bill's character.
Just
But
keep
they have
coming
a lot
back.
of character.
Just keep coming
Never
back.
give up.
Never give up.
Yep.
So I also attended the public meeting, and we had our daughter and grandchildren visiting for a little more than a week. And we took them to the Reston Station, to band playing, and also to the Saturday night thing. And it was interesting. I don't think Judy realized it. There is live music almost every night. It's fantastic. It's, for a place the size of Reston, that's pretty good.
Yeah, in the summer.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And other than that, for the last few days, I've been watching the World Cup women's soccer, which is very interesting. The U.S. did fine, sort of, on the first day. Should have been about 6 or 7-0. Turned out to be 3-0 against
The
Vietnam.
Vietnamese goalie was amazing. He was
Yeah,
solid.
she
He was
really
amazing.
made some good stuff.
Yeah.
But, it's Wednesdays is The next game,
Netherlands.
the Netherlands, that's gonna be a completely different kind of game. I also follow the English team. So unfortunately, I spend a lot of time watching games. I always save them because they're in the middle of the night, and then spend a good part of the next day watching. It's gonna be something.
So I attended the public hearing, of course, and then one of the art park, is that what it's called, in town center. Very nice, lovely evening, and nice show. And Western Farmers Market. That's, well, plus the farmers market at St. John's Newman. And unrelated to Reston, I also, we went down by subway downtown. By the way, that's really cheap. I had no idea. You know, it's like $2, $3 each way. But we went to Planet Word, and that's a very cool museum.
It
Planet
is.
Word.
Planet
It's-
Word.
it's in-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about language, mainly for kids, but adults are enjoying it too. But the kids are really getting into it. They're shouting out their answers. It was really fun. It's a very nice museum. Mr. Bloomberg up to more good than he does with his buildings.
Yeah.
I'd like that.
Yeah.
Of course, we all went to the public hearing, yes. That was about it for me. The next order of business is the executive director's report.
Okay, so this is the meeting every year that I talk about our year-end fiscal situation. And we've had several meetings where a lot of this has already been previewed. So if you go to your handouts and pull out these should look very familiar to you, the monthly statement. This is the year end. There's nothing really remarkable to point out to you with respect to those statements, except for the fact that the comptroller Lake and lease line in the expenses page, the orange page, it looks as if that cost center went over budget, but that's due to an erroneous posting of actually the first tax bill for the FY24 cycle of tax payment. So this seldom happens, but there is a mechanism set up called month 13 for when it does happen. I don't know that there are 13 months in the year, but accountants use month 13 to go back and fix a mistake that occurred at the tail end of month 12 or in month 12. And so that's where that will be reversed. We didn't see that until after this was all put together, but it'll get picked up and taken care of by the time the figures from carryover are dropped into the budget officially. Usually it's October when that happens. And it's never happened before, so it's a first, but it's just an error in posting time frame for that bill. Everything else we've talked about the good performance in revenue from this year. We've talked about the performance of the investment income being really amazing. Where there are overruns in personnel costs, those are attributable to the pay increases that occurred over the course of the year for lifeguards and for our maintenance team. And then for pay compression adjustments, and those were primarily to individual salaries. And then at the end of the year, we had reclassifications out of the county's benchmark study for our graphic designers and our building engineer. So,
Are these adjustments over with now? Or
well,
pay
they're
compression?
over with in terms of hitting a budget that didn't anticipate them. So when we get into the conversation around carryover, we've built, they will get built into the budget by DMB so that they will they'll be assigned to the budget in that same October timeframe, and they'll get picked up for FY '24 and then subsequently also for FY '25.
Yeah.
But no, we won't see, I don't think we'll see cost
Anymore.
overruns, but there are some, a lot depends on hiring. For example, we hired a leisure and learning director from within the agency, and because of the nature of the rules around promotion, it was a 3 or more step promotion that automatically carries a 15% pay increase. And for that particular individual, it put them at the top of the pay range, and that wasn't what was budgeted against that position when we created the budget. So some of it is due to that kind of an anomaly. Usually that works the other way for us. We usually end up having more funding than if turnover creates an opening, then we save money, and we usually hire at a lower rate typically than not. But that's how it worked out this year. We also did more youth programming than we anticipated when we built this year's budget, which is a good news story. And you can see that it paid off because we increased revenue. I think another thing to look at that was a really good indicator that we're continuing on a trajectory of greater participation is if you look at the fee waiver total for the year, the $228,811 in fee waiver. This is really unrealized cash, but this represents really good participation in the fee waiver program. It's more than double what we had last year, so that's a very good thing. That suggests that the outreach that we're doing through Opportunity Neighborhood and through the meetings we have set up with those locations to talk about each cycle of programming, they're really paying off. So we'll continue to pursue those opportunities and continue to grow that programming. You see the explanation here about the cost overrun related to the early tax payment, but also a reminder that our fuel and utility costs went up, and we did, because of the expansion of the lineup, the entertainment lineup at the Multicultural Festival, there was some cost overrun related to that.
And we've got a fix for that, right?
Yeah, we just increased the budget.
No, what I meant was the energy audit and all the new stuff.
Oh, well, sure, yeah. So then, in terms of, and you see here the highlights, we went over those in the annual public hearing. Carryover notes, these should not be, these should seem very familiar to you once we get into the budget adjustments, but in terms of carryover, the first section here is revenue deferral. This gives you a picture of look at the fees paid column. This is actual payments for programs that were made in FY23, but the programming doesn't occur until FY24. So that revenue is subtracted out of the FY23 revenue profile and added to the FY24 revenue profile. And if you can see we've already had a really amazing start to the youth teen program revenue, indicating a really robust summer camp season that's going on right now. And then same with the fee waiver amounts. We do the same thing for those that we do as if it was real money. We take all of the commitments for FY24 that were made in FY23 and back them out into the FY24 category. So you can see that the total, not with the fee waiver revenue, but for our cash revenue picture at the front end of the year here is already good by about $263,500. The next carryover elements are, this is much better than last year. We were able to close out the vast majority of our purchasing. These are the purchase orders for which we did not have goods or services fully received by the end of June. The capital project carryover amounts here are for the security system. We're still waiting on delivery of the final pieces for the security system. It's not that it's not working, it's just that the screens are all, in this building, they're downstairs in Lake Ann. They're not viewable in the public area, but they are recording. And so whenever we have a situation that police need to be involved, they have access to that footage, and we have access to that footage. The Grimm and Parker is who that remaining amount there is on the Reston Arts Project, and we'll close that out shortly. No more activity on that front. Capital projects, we carry over both encumbered and unencumbered balances, and you can see there what the total of unencumbered balances is, and then the total of our savings in personnel and operating. This was also in our carryover memorandum that went to the county. We saved something shy of $1 million overall for the year, and most of that in personnel, and most of that was due to merit position vacancies that we were unable to fill. We have a very strong foundation for FY24. We're in very good fiscal health. The next pages are you've seen these details so many times, I expect you have them memorized by now. These are the budget revisions that were related to expansion of programs. If you flip to the second page, you'll see the big items for the capital projects there, the first half of the energy project and the first half of the RCC on wheels vehicle. One thing that in terms of this table will happen, the adjustment here of $100,000 that was sort of our placeholder for all these pay compression and all that, they will not include that in the final carryover amounts in the county's documentation of our carryover, because they'll put the real numbers in as a function of personnel cost loading in FY24. So it's roughly the right amount, but DMV will break it out by cost center and assign it precisely when they build the FY24 budget following carryover approval. Carryover approval happens in September, and that's why we'll see those solid FY24 numbers in October. And then we always provide a fund statement for the year-end report, and that's presented here. Again, there will still be adjustments in this fund statement picture because the FY24 revised budget plan numbers will probably change somewhat when they get more refined in terms of personnel and benefits costs. So we're in good shape.
Thank you very much.
And we had a really good year.
Thanks to the taxes.
Well, and we had a very solid year
Yeah,
of
that's true.
participation as
Yeah.
well. So I think we're getting close to where we were.
So when is this all sent to the BOS?
The Board of Supervisors will discuss carryover this month, and they approve it in September. If you want, you can go to the county website online, and you'll see what they did to our numbers in terms of, they did get the personnel number more refined, and the operating savings number is different from this presentation because of this lease adjustment that's occurred. But if you go to the budget page of the county website and you click on budget, they will show, I think they have the carryover package already up on the county website. And when you want to, if you ever want to go and look at ours, it's in the other funds. It's not in the general fund section of the budget presentation packages. It's always under other funds. And you can see what other funds there are. We're not the only special fund.
We're not the only agency in this.
No, we are not. You'd be surprised how many
I'm sure.
non-general fund agencies there are. There's a lot. There's a lot of budget activity in that part of the budget, and people are typically more concerned with the general fund, but a lot goes on in the other funds.
Is there any continuing business? Bill has none. Is there any new business? Okay. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. The July 24th, 2023 meeting of the Reston Community Center Board of Governors is now adjourned.